Greetings friend and welcome to the channel. If you've been playing the new Nightreign DLC like I have, you have undoubtedly heard this lovely sound at some point. And if this isn't your first time encountering it, your heart more than likely sank. Patch 1.03.1 did nerf the attack of the smaller wolves that spawn after you defeat the first split tricephalos during this raid, but it does not fully address the underlying issues of this raid in general. Clearing all three will give you this buff, which right off the jump is a little bit problematic, mostly because it only is triggered by successive attacks. This can definitely be a problem whenever you have a slower swinging weapon that's a little bit harder to trigger successive attacks, but also against more mobile Night Lords, of which there are plenty in the game. On a level 14 Undertaker without trance, here's an example without and with. Now don't get me wrong, having more stamina at your disposal is always going to be welcome. It just feels a little bit underwhelming compared to some of the other great effects from some of the other raids, like Demon's Plating from the Libra raid, or the Noster raid giving you basically as many runes as you could ever need. Each individual one that you defeat will give you just under 30,000 runes, for a total of just under 90,000 for defeating all three, which is not the worst, but feels a little bit underwhelming as well, just compared to how much time it takes to actually complete and clear all three, when you are likely interrupting other things and taking up way too large of a portion of a day. As I stated earlier, the smaller wolves do not spawn until you defeat the first one, so in an ideal world you would be able to, at least in trios, split up from your team and fight them one each all at the same time and clear them as close to each other as possible. I know that is definitely not completely feasible, just with the lack of communication if you're queuing with randoms like I typically do, but that would be the the best way to be able to handle this. It's also totally fine to just ignore this raid in general, especially if it's going to be an unfavorable spot where they spawn in compared to where you are on the map. If you have to travel, halfway across the map or more to get to this, it's better off to just take the low damage over time until they despawn. If you're going to do that, I suggest completely ignoring it. Taking out one of them will spawn in those miniature wolves that run around, and the patch nerf their damage, but they still take a long time to take out. I feel like a lot longer than it should. If you're in solos and you get it, I honestly would not even bother. It just takes up way too much time that would be better spent getting bosses that actually give you equipment that'll help you in the Night Lord fight instead of just a slight stamina buff and only 90,000 runes. If they're not too far out of the way and you don't feel like it would take up too much of the day, or if your randoms decide to start fighting them regardless of your pings to the other part of the map, trying to dissuade them from doing so, they are still weak to holy exactly how they are in the Night Lord fight, in their split state where they will have that aura on them once they take so much holy damage, and it will nerf their moveset, make them jump around a lot less, like the red wolf that everyone loves so much. For this particular expedition, I was trying to ping Noclateo for the start of day 2, just because that's one of the best ways to handle this shifting earth. It's just too valuable of a POI. Aside from just the buff that you get from defeating Estelle, there are so many high rune giving bosses and great equipment that you can get from there. But the team decided that we were going to fight these guys, so I thought best to not try to solo it on my own and help them out with this. I split off from my teammate to go take on the second one, and we cleared them in pretty quick succession. Unfortunately, the Wilder was in the top right of the map. I'm not entirely sure doing what, but then we all came together to defeat this last one. And this is a really good showcase of just how chaotic it can be with all of the separate wolves that it spawns with the buffed Tricephalos and the buffed wolves themselves. There's so much fire AoE in the ground that you just can't ignore. Now this is before the patch came out, so it remains to be seen exactly how manageable that is, but the strategy will still be to take these guys out all at very quick succession so you don't have to deal with all the different wolves you're trying to take these guys out. I'm not the biggest fan of this raid at the moment, but it could definitely change for the better further down the line. What are your thoughts on this, and do you have any other tips or tricks from your experience with this raid? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget, Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.
PlayStation